and welcome to Dharma Talk Tuesday. So happy to be here with you today. It's a bit of a cloudy Tuesday here in San Diego, May, gray, June gloom, but Duke is happy, sleeping under the table. You might hear him. There's some Duke blankets and toys laying around. Mom life, you know how it is. Okay, so today we're talking about how to know if you're living in new consciousness or old consciousness. I'm going to give you 3 things to think about that are going to get you thinking about, like, okay, so am I kind of back in the old way of doing things, or am I aligning myself to the new vibration that is coming into this planet? If you study any like ancient prophecies or things like that, you know, they talk about there's the old consciousness and then there's the new consciousness. And you can actually make the choice on how you align yourself, how you're living, the things that you're thinking, the ways that you're showing up, the decisions you're making. And so it's so funny because, you know, there's like the apocalyptic prophecies, and I don't want to go into all that right now. But the reason I bring that up is because so often they have you believe that somehow you're a victim to it, or like, you know, you're going to be part of the new tribe or you're not, and somehow it's like you're just a victim to it. But the truth is you do have a choice. You have a choice, and you're in power, and you're totally in charge of your fate. And so I really want to address that today. And specifically because I was very, very inspired by something that happened this morning, and I'm really excited to share it with you. And I don't usually talk about like consciousness like this, but my perception of what happened this morning, and I'm going to share it with you in a minute, my perception of what happened this morning was an absolute indicator and symptom of the planet moving into new consciousness. And I'm so excited to be a part of it, to be a generator of it, to be a driver of it. And I want to invite you on board too, because it's an exciting way to live, and it's a much more powerful, relaxed, and potent way to live. All right, you ready for this? Okay, so as you're popping on, say hello, say where you're tuning in from. And I would also love to know, as you're popping on and you're saying hi, whether it's live or on the hashtag replay, what you're understanding of and what you know already about old consciousness and new consciousness, just so I can have some context on, you know, who I'm speaking to and what I can speak into to support your understanding. All right, so I want to start with telling you what happened this morning. Whew, okay, this is so mind-blowing. All right, so I was leading a co-creation live stream this morning it went from 9 a.m. Pacific until 12:45. It might have actually gone till 1 Pacific. So 12 Eastern to 3:30 or 4 Eastern. And it was all about unleashing your wealth legacy. That's what it was called. And I had the privilege of being one of the co-leaders and one of the panelists in this co-creation live stream with 7 other ladies who they're my mastermind, they're my friends, they're inspiring. And I'm sharing this with you because at the end of the live stream, we made an offer. Because of course, if you're doing something that makes a difference for people, you get to make an offer so that people can take action on it if they want support and are in alignment with it, right? So get this. We made an offer, and there were 70 people on the live stream watching us. And a bunch of people started grabbing it. They were like, yes, I want it. Yes, I want it. Yes, I want it. And which is awesome. And then there were some people who were like, yes, I want it, but, and then they were limited by like money or by resources or whatever. And guess what started to happen? Okay, people started buying tickets for each other. And let me just give you context. It's not like these people knew each other. Most of the people on this particular live stream actually came from Facebook ads. So it wasn't like they were from a mastermind or a community or, you know, were clients of ours or things like that, although some clients of ours were on. It was like people over the internet around the world taking care of each other. One person pops in and says, hey, I need support. And then the other person responds and says, hey, I got your back. I got you a ticket. And it didn't just happen one time. It happened multiple times, like 3 or 4 times. There were 3 or 4 different people who bought someone they didn't know a ticket in the live stream this morning. And it just makes me so emotional and overwhelmed and grateful to know that that's the world consciousness that I'm source for. I'm the one that made the offer on the live stream. Like, I'm the one that was like, okay, here's what we're presenting. Here's what you're going to get. Like, I did the offer. I'm source for that. And I couldn't be more pleased. I couldn't be more overwhelmed, overjoyed that I stand as source for that up-leveling in world consciousness. I want you to think for a second about what that would feel like for you. Let's say you were, like, I'm sure you've been on a webinar. Have you ever, like, imagine what it would be like to be watching something and to think to yourself, man, I would really love this thing, and be able to post and say, I really wish I could get this thing, but, and then someone just popped in and said, hey, I got you, I'll get it for you. You can pay me back or not. I got you. Or the other way around, where someone posts and says, oh, I wish I could get this. And then you were the one who said, hey, I've got you. I don't know who you are. I don't know, like, let me just get it for you. And it's not in like that handout vibe. It's not like I'm enabling you or anything like that. It's actually from a place of the cycle of prosperity and energy. So I just want to open today's Dharma Talk Tuesday with that, because I've just never seen anything like that before. It totally blew me away. And it inspired me so much by humanity. And it inspired me so much to be part of a movement that created a result like that. I've never heard of that before. I've never seen that before. It was unbelievable. That to me is a sign of new consciousness. Another example of a sign of new consciousness is at my last retreat in May, and I'm doing another one this coming weekend, which is super exciting, in Irvine. Tickets for that are completely complimentary, and it's thedharmacircle.com/Irvine Unleash event if you're interested in coming, by the way. So you're welcome to come. So just get registered. Make sure you answer your confirmation call. So at the last event, it was awesome because, again, people who didn't know each other, people who were brand new to me, who'd never, followed me before, known me before, anything like that. And one of the things I do at my events is I create a buddy context. Now, what that means is I actually, and I don't want to ruin anything for anyone who's coming, but I don't think it'll ruin it for you. It's actually supportive. What I do is I create a supportive environment for you by pairing you up with buddies. And so at the last event, at the May event, we did this, and it was so cool because the buddy context actually created a family vibe and it's women only. So women who were looking out for each other, who had each other's back. Here's a great example. There was a partner there, like a buddy pair there, and they came on Saturday, and then Sunday was like kind of rainy and icky outside. And San Diego's so funny. Like, I'm from the Midwest where precipitation all the time is normal, right? But in Southern California, with rain and precipitation, people like don't want to leave their house. They're like, can't drive. It's just like a funny Southern California thing. And so we got to the event on Sunday, and we were kind of like just having a conversation at the beginning of the opening of the event on Sunday. And one of the ladies said, the reason why I'm here is because I committed to my buddy. And when I make a commitment, I follow through. I don't back down. I don't quit when I make a commitment. I am my word. Integrity is important to me. And it was so funny because right before the session started, I was actually talking to her buddy, and her buddy said the same thing to me. They sourced commitment out of each other. And they both were there that day, and they both had their biggest breakthroughs that day at that event because they were there for each other. They didn't know each other prior to this. Do you get what I'm saying? This is new consciousness. This is the new consciousness on the planet that is playing out every day. So if you're coming to the Irvine event, you're going to be a part of this. Like, you get to actually be a participant in this new vibration of consciousness and really integrate it into your life and into your way of being. If you're involved in the thing that I was offering on the webinar this morning, the Unleash Your Legacy webinar, you're a part of the new consciousness. You get what I'm saying? So, like, I'm sharing this with you because it's important to be looking for evidence. the human mind will look for whatever it wants to believe in. We love to be right. Humans love to be right. And so what are you looking for evidence for? For me, I'm seeing evidence all over the place in these 2 short stories I'm sharing with you, and so many more that I don't have time to share right now, of the new consciousness. So I want to share with you 3 ways for you to know if you are living in new consciousness or if you're living in old consciousness, and to really recognize that if you are living in old consciousness, what you can do to shift so that you are on the path of new consciousness, because I promise you, that's a very different life. It's a very different experience. It's weird. It's like you're on the same planet as me, like you're in the same world, in the same city, but it feels like a completely different planet. Truly, that's what it is. Okay, so you ready for this? Hearts and likes if you're ready for this. Okay, so the first attribute of how you know if you're, I'm going to say old consciousness first. The first attribute of how you know if you're living in old consciousness. Are you ready for this? It's the experience of skepticism. So if you find yourself being skeptical, or if you find yourself being like doubtful or having that like side eye, like, I don't know, that's an old consciousness energy. The opposite of skepticism is trust. If you're going to talk about chakras, for example, it has to do with open-heartedness. How open-hearted are you? So it was really interesting. On the live stream this morning, we made our offer, and there was a person who was like, I'm confused. Like, so there's the event, and how much is the event, and how much is the bundle? And because there were several different pieces to the offer, and I responded in the chat, and I said, 'cause that's what she said in the chat, and I responded in the chat, and I said, yeah, it's all only $197. And she wrote again, and she was like, no, nobody's answering my question. How much is the event? And I was like, you're not hearing me. It's $197. And then when she got it, she was like, wait, it's all of this for $197? And I was like, yeah, I know it's crazy, but that's the offer. That's what it is, right? And so think about the world that she lives in, that she actually blocked potentially receiving a really amazing deal. In fact, there was someone on the webinar who wrote deal of the century. That was literally what they wrote. I took a picture of it on my phone because it was so funny to me. It was like, yep, it's a really good deal. And I just think about that person and the life that they live, that like, where else is she blocking receiving? Where else is she blocking the gift of generosity, which the offer that we had put together was extremely generous? Like, where else is she blocking a give that someone is trying really hard to give to her? Another great example is I was running Facebook ads for the May event, and it was back in like April, beginning of May timeframe. And I saw a comment come through on one of the ads, and I looked at it and I commented in response, because the person said, there must be a catch. How is this a free event? There's literally no catch. It's a free event. And I'm not saying this because I want skeptical people to all start flocking to me and like testing it out. And I'm not saying this for that. This is a vibration of old consciousness. Like, this is a symptom of old consciousness on the planet. So like, again, think about the way that person is generating their life if she's looking through the lens of skepticism. If you resonate with what I'm saying and you're hearing what I'm saying and you find yourself kind of skeptical, take a look at your relationships. Take a look at what you're generating in your life, because the inherent in the energy dynamic of skepticism is I don't trust. And so if you're generating a lack of trust in your relationships, in your walk with God, in yourself, you get to really look at what you are generating in your life. And what would it be like to actually trust? What would it be like to actually open your heart and give people a chance, and to actually believe that someone on the planet has a generous heart and wants to look out for you and wants to make a difference for you? Like, yeah, oh, it's only $197. Yeah, the event is free. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that's the new consciousness. So skepticism is the old consciousness. The new consciousness is giving, is generosity, is I just want to give because it feels good to give, because I want to give back, because this is my legacy, because this is my calling, because there's more than enough. And it just, things work out, you know. If someone at the event likes me, they'll sign up for one of my things. And it's just like, it all works out, you know. It's like not a big deal. So notice where you're coming from in your mind. Do you find yourself falling into skepticism, or do you typically default to trust? Okay, so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is the focus of your, let me put it this way. The focus of how you see the world. Do you see the world through I/we? Or do you see the world through get/give? Or do you see the world through selfish and service? I'm going to break this down for you. Okay, so I was at Disneyland on Sunday, and I had the blessing of being on a tour, which was amazing, and I'm never going to, excuse me, do Disneyland without a tour ever again. Skipping all the lines, and it was such amazing service and all of that. And it was so interesting because the tour guide would talk about everything from a place of we, even if she wasn't like even alive with the story she was telling. So for example, she was saying how at the very beginning of the Disney parks, she would say it like this. She said, we asked our employees who received their checks on Friday to not cash them until Monday because things were very tight at that time. So this was in the 50s, aka before she was born. And yet she still said, we asked our employees not to cash their checks on Friday, but to wait until Monday, until they got the weekend receipts. We. It wasn't they. It wasn't us and them. It wasn't they. It was we. Right? So here's another example. The person who was skeptical about my free event tickets. She's obviously in a get mentality. What she's thinking is, oh, there must be a catch here. There's something that she's going to get in order to be able to do this, or that she wants from me, right? Versus thinking, wow, a human on the planet that wants to give. And so if she's projecting that in someone else, chances are she operates that way in herself. She's in a get mentality. She's in survival mode. And by the way, you can be in survival mode and still be in a give mentality. In fact, I'm reading a book right now called The 4 Laws of Prosperity. And she was talking about how she was basically homeless and she decided to start tithing and start giving and activating the flow of wealth, 10%. And she literally had nothing. And she, in the Bible, God says, you can test me here. So she's like, okay, I'm going to test God in this. And she starts to test, and sure enough, a flow opens up. And that's how tithing works. And that's how giving works. And it's not giving from a place of getting, although you will get when you give, but you shouldn't give to get. You give because you love other humans, because you love the planet, because it feels good to give. If you're giving to get, people actually can feel that. And it's one of the reasons why in the old consciousness, people are skeptical. So do a check with yourself when you're offering something to someone. Are you giving truly just to give, or are you giving to get? I love the book called The Go-Giver, and there's all kinds of Go-Giver books. There's Go-Giver Leader, Go-Giver Influencer, Go-Giver Salesperson, and they're all really good. And one of the things it said in, I think it was the original Go-Giver actually, where he was talking about his relationship, and actually the character is based off of Bob Proctor, which is pretty cool. And he was talking about his relationship and how he's got this great marriage. And he was saying, we both just give, but we don't give to get. We just give because we just give. And what ends up happening is we're both in a relationship with a giver. So my needs are met all the time because I'm in a relationship with a giver. And I started to test that out with Matt just to see what would happen. And by the way, I'm someone who loves, like, I like things a certain way. Like, we got my preferences. I like things a certain way. Up until that point, I'd been very used to communicating how I wanted things to be. Not that I don't communicate how I want things to be now, but it's different because I've learned that if I can just give without a need to get, I do get, and I get even more and even better than what I would have gotten if I had given from a place of I'm giving to get. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Hearts and likes if you get what I'm saying. And sure enough, it's like I'm inspired. Like when I'm inspired to give, he's inspired to give. When he's giving, I'm inspired to give. And it's just like, but it started with me. It started with me reading The Go-Giver and creating the whole cycle in the first place. And that's what I've sourced in my entire family and in my friend group. And it's an unbelievable way to live. That's a symptom of new consciousness. So if you find yourself in the dynamic of giving and you end up getting, you're in the new consciousness. If you find yourself feeling like I need to get, that's old consciousness. You guys picking up what I'm putting down? The last thing I want to underline here in this particular topic, in this section, this is number 2, is the idea of service. And I hear all the time from people, I just want to serve. I just want to serve humanity. I just want to make the world a better place. But what's so funny is, provide them with my sales and enrollment training, my objections training, my workshop model, my strategies. Like I provide them with things like that. And then I get objections like, I don't want to sell. I don't like making offers. I don't like getting on the phone. I don't like hosting workshops. I don't want to be seen, right? And so I'll hear stories like that. And yet those people were just saying they want to serve. They want to make the world better. Here's the deal. If you truly want to serve and you want to make the world better, you get to do those things because that's what a giver does. And the moment that you start to feel self-conscious or doubt or I can't or what if I look bad or what if I fail, guess who all those conversations are about? That's all about you, all about me, whatever. It's very selfish. It's very self-centered. That's the opposite of service. And so if you say you want to be of service and if you want to contribute to the world and live in a world that is that you're giving and you're creating this dynamic of service and transformation on the planet, you must get over those conversations and put away the selfishness, the self-focus, the self-centeredness. I can't even tell you guys how many times I was afraid to get on the phone to do an enrollment call, how many times I was shaking before doing webinars. I remember my first few talks that I gave. My very first one, I was back in St. Louis. I was laying on the couch practicing the talk, freaking out, feeling like shitty about myself, like mean, negative self-talk in my head, until I finally realized, wow, I'm really making this about me. And I just made it okay to potentially not do very well, to look bad, to fail. And sure enough, when I come from a space of service, I never fail. I never look bad. God always has my back. God always catches me, and he'll catch you too. The universe is with you, but you've got to meet the universe halfway. You've got to get out of your own way, and you got to get into the vibration of giving as opposed to self-focus, self-centeredness. Really hope you hear what I'm saying there. Okay. So number 1 was, are you skeptical? That's a sure sign of living in old consciousness. Number 2 is, what is your operational context? Is it I or is it we? Is it get or is it give? Is it selfish or is it service? Okay. Third and final factor that I want to teach you today is around source and responsibility. Okay, so old consciousness is called victim. New consciousness is source and responsibility. This can be a really hard one for people. It can be very confronting for people. And so I'm just prefacing it with that. But if you're willing to really open your eyes and open your heart and get this one, it will change your life. It will change everything in your life. Here's the deal with source and responsibility. I call it the Manifestor's Creed. So the Manifestor's Creed is, I am 100% responsible 100% of the time. And for some people, that might feel very confronting because they're like, no, but my ex-husband did X, Y, and Z. No, but my parents did X, Y, and Z. No, but the other person did X, Y, and Z. And it's like we don't want to look at what we did to cause the situation. But what I want to share with you is that if you're willing to look at what you did or who you were being, more likely to cause a result, that's powerful. If you can see that your source, you now have an opportunity to get your power back. If your perspective is that the other person did something or the other person caused something, if that's what you want to believe, you basically just gave away all your power. That's not how manifestors work. The way manifestors work, the way Dharma Queens work, is we reclaim our power. And the best way to do that is through full responsibility, full belief that I am source. If there's something I want, I can transform, I can shift, I can create that result. And so this is an idea that I personally have embodied since I was very young. I've just always known this. I've always known that I could powerfully influence my environment. I understand it on a scientific level now, like I've done the research and I know the facts and the studies. I started to understand it on a spiritual level and started studying that in my 20s. But even when I was in my teens, I understood this on a very fundamental level. And I think it's one of the reasons why I'm in my early 30s and have created such an awesome, spacious, peaceful, abundant life for myself. And I just want to share with you, you're just like me. You are absolutely no different. The only thing that might be different is your relationship with responsibility and source. So if there's anything that you're discontent with in your life, take a look inside and recognize, in what way have I generated this? Disclaimer, really important disclaimer. This is not designed or meant to be an excuse or opportunity for you to beat yourself up. That's something I used to do. I will say that. That's something I used to do. I used to beat myself up. I used to use the whole source responsibility thing as a reason to beat myself up and say oh, I caused this, and get really low vibe with it. But here's what's interesting. This is so deceptive. That's actually being a victim. That's old consciousness. It's just self-directed accusations versus externally directed accusations. So that's not what I'm talking about either. This is I call it with my team. I call it every day I check in with my team and I say what's working, what's not working. And we simply assess. There's no blame. There's no pointing the finger. There's no making wrong. It's just assessment, what's working and what's not working, and then shift. No drama, no charge, no emotional charge, no need to make a big thing of it. You shift, period, that's it. This is new consciousness thinking, and it's one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your power and transform your life, transform your relationships, transform your family. If you watched my Dharma Talk Tuesday from, I think it was last week, I talked all about how my relationship with my family has completely transformed. Guess what? Who did all the work? Me. My family hasn't done any of this work, and yet they've totally changed. And so it's all from me doing pretty much this last distinction around source and responsibility. As I shifted my understanding of my role in my family and how it was showing up and how it was being, they changed. And that's how it works. That is simply how it works. All right, so I'm just going to quickly say hello to Giovanna, to Catherine, Violetta, Gretchen, Carrie Stanley. All right, cool. So Kim Kaplan, hello. Okay. Violetta says, it is the deal of a century. Oh, there's a ton of people hopping on now. I see you guys. Carrie says, Julie, hey, hey. Debbie, Cohen, hello. All right. Cool. Okay, so if you're watching the replay or if you're watching live, I would love to just hear what's resonating with you, what's landing with you, what's inspiring to you, what's making a difference for you, and to really get honest and clear with yourself right now. Have you been living in old consciousness or new consciousness? And what do you choose to do moving forward? Because you have a choice. This is a choice point moment for you. What do you choose to do moving forward? So I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to choose new consciousness when you're in the context of other people who are choosing new consciousness. And this is one of the reasons why coming to my events and coming to my retreats and getting connected with people, whether it's me or another leader who you really resonate with, and plugging yourself in. So if you don't already have a ticket, it's my Irvine event. It's thedharmacircle.com/Irvine Unleash event. Grab it now. If you're coming and you haven't confirmed yet, make sure you confirm. If you are coming and haven't invited a friend yet, invite a friend, because there's nothing like plugging in together with your friend. And if you know someone who lives nearby, even if you don't live nearby, make sure to invite them. Make sure to tell them about this. All right, so I am going to wrap it up right there. I just want to say I'm so blessed and grateful and honored to be doing this work on the planet, to be standing as source for this, to be making this difference for you, for your people, for other humans, even just on a subtle energetic level, like the ripple across the globe. So God bless you for being here, for listening, for your contribution to this very important transformation shift that's happening on the planet right now. We live in a really amazing time. We really do. All right, God bless, and I will see you next week for Dharma Talk Tuesday. Bye.